infertility, we seem to have a worldwide
Yes,
epidemic.
all over the world. All over the world, infertility is a problem. Infertility is a classic example of the stress response. See, the body has two ways of perceiving the world. In the Bible, it says you're either with me or against me, right? There's duality in the world, fear and love, up and down, right and left. There's everywhere where there's duality in the world. In the body, there's duality also in the sense that when we see the world as either being a safe space or a dangerous space. Albert Einstein famously said, if I ever got to talk to God, I would ask him, is the universe a friendly place? And that's kind of a fundamental question that we all ask. Even if we're not thinking it consciously, subconsciously in our bodies, we're all asking, is this situation safe? When we meet somebody new, even if it's not conscious, at least subconsciously, sometimes consciously, we're saying, is this person safe? If we go into a new experience or new situation, we're asking, is this experience or this situation safe? And this choice between or the perception of safety or the perception of danger manifests itself in the neurology, in our nervous system. So when we see the world as being a dangerous place, our body starts to operate from a neurological perspective, from a nerve perspective, in a danger posture. It becomes protective. When we see the world in a safe way, we're in a safe space, our neurology reflects that, and we get a neurology of safety. The neurology of safety is associated with joy, it's associated with digestion, it's associated with relaxation, it's associated with creativity, it's associated with good bowel movements, it's associated with everything we like about life. The neurology of safety is also the neurology of ease. And the neurology of safety, the neurology of ease, regulates all of the biochemical processes that give us joie de vivre, joy for life, including fertility. The neurology of danger raises your blood pressure, shuts down your digestive system, keeps you from growing, thins your bones and your skin, shuts down your immune system, and keeps you from being fertile. Why? Because when you're in danger, your body doesn't want to make a baby. So when the body perceives that there is danger, when the stress response is manifesting neurologically, it will shut down fertility. And while we may be dumb enough to think that we want to make a baby when our life is falling apart, our body is not that dumb. And if we are seeing the world in a place of out of ease or dis-ease, the fertility system will shut down. Lots of things will happen. In fact, all of the things that we consider to be unpleasant physiologically as we get older and when we're sick are all manifestations of a body that is in chronic danger mode. And technically speaking, this is the danger nervous system is called the sympathetic nervous system, and the relaxation nervous system is called the parasympathetic nervous system. And these two nervous systems together regulate how our body responds to the environment. We're either primarily parasympathetic, that is, we see the world as being safe, we're in ease, or we're primarily sympathetic. We see the world as being dangerous, we see our situation as being dangerous, we are out of ease, or we're in dis-ease. And this is the common theme behind, or the common factor that underlies all chronic degenerative diseases, all health misery, and all the things that we hate about being in our body and being alive. And the classic example is menopause. If any of you ladies have gone through menopause or you're going through menopause, you know that you have anxiety and you have problems sleeping and your skin starts to thin and bones start to thin and you get depressed and you have digestive problems and you have a lack of libido. All of these things are a manifestation of a body that's in distress, a body that's in dis-ease, that's out of ease, a body that's in danger mode. The answer to get all of these problems, including infertility, is to figure out how to get back to the parasympathetic way of being. And this is true about all chronic degenerative diseases. I'm talking arthritis, I'm talking autoimmune diseases, I'm talking cancer, I'm talking accelerated aging, I'm talking about any kind of long-term progressive degenerative illness that is a disease that doesn't get better, that just progressively gets worse. Your solution, and remember, we started off this conversation by saying how simple everything is. And this is really simple. Our solution to all of these problems is to get the body back into a state of safety. The prime directive of the body is to always be safe. In religion, we say it's about being saved. This is what it means to be saved. It means, from a biological perspective, from a body perspective, it means to take the body back into safety. In fact, if you want to get really religious about it, Christianity or Jesus represents the parasympathetic nervous system. So he says, you're either with me or against me. He means you're either parasympathetic or you're sympathetic. Love is located parasympathetically. Fear is located sympathetically. And these are the two primal directives, even in religion, fear and love. So they don't call it sympathetic and parasympathetic. They call it fear and love, or maybe they'll call it the devil or Satan and Christ. But really what they're talking about is the parasympathetic, from a biological perspective anyway, is the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. So all health roads lead to the parasympathetic nervous system, or the parasympathetic nervous system leads to all health roads. And the question then becomes, how do we get parasympathetic? And that will take care of the question of infertility. So before you want to make a baby, before you want to conceive a baby, go parasympathetic. One of the best ways to go parasympathetic, or to take the body parasympathetic, is to breathe. In fact, if you want to experience what the sympathetic nervous system is like, or overactive sympathetic nervous system is like, try to stop breathing. If you try to stop breathing, like you hold your breath for maybe 10 seconds, most people can hold their breath for 10 seconds. But if you try to hold your breath for maybe 20 seconds, you'll hear a little voice in your head that says, you better breathe now. And then you say, okay, I'm going to ignore that voice. I'm going to still hold my breath. You could probably do it, maybe another 10 seconds, 30 seconds. Then you'll hear that voice. It'll scream at you. It'll say, I said breathe. You better breathe. And you can override that. You go, no, I'm going to hold it for another 5 seconds. Around that time, 35 or 40 seconds, your body will go into full-blown sympathetic overdrive. You'll start to shake. You'll get really hot. You may get dizzy. If you do it long enough, you'll faint. All of these, your pulse will race and your heartbeat will race. All of these are classic examples of a sympathetic nervous system that's run amok. We call this a panic attack. And in fact, anybody who has panic attacks will tell you that before they have a panic attack, they aren't breathing. In fact, it may very well be that people who get panic attacks are really getting panic attacks because they don't breathe correctly. In fact, most of us don't breathe correctly. Most of us are only breathing about 10% of our lung capacity, which means most of us are in chronic, low-level sympathetic activity most of our lives. And this is what largely accounts for the poor state of our health, is that we're spending most of our time in this sympathetic state for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is because we're not breathing deeply enough. So one of the fastest ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is to practice what I call SDR breathing, slow, deep, rhythmic breathing. Slow, deep, rhythmic breathing will take you immediately into the parasympathetic nervous system. And it won't take very long at all. One of the classic manifestations of sympathetic nervous system overdrive is high blood pressure. In fact, doctors don't even know what causes high blood pressure. They're so oblivious to the cause of high blood pressure, which you now know, that they actually have a term for high blood pressure with no known cause called essential hypertension. Now, I don't know if you've heard of that term, essential hypertension, but essential hypertension, in the United States anyway, affects 80 million people. That's 1 out of 3 people. Probably the situation is very similar in your country and countries. And high blood pressure pills, antihypertensive pills, are among the most widely dispensed medication there are. High blood pressure pills are extremely toxic. They're very toxic because the way they work, most of them anyway, is by slowing down the heart. Well, if you understand that hypertension or high blood pressure is a classic manifestation of a sympathetic response, of an elevated sympathetic nervous system, you now have the best cure for lowering your blood pressure without having to go to the doctor, without having to take any drugs. Activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Practice SDR breathing. In fact, if you have a blood pressure cuff, I don't know if any of you guys have a blood pressure cuff, where you wrap your arm around, wrap a cuff around your arm and you do a little pumping action and you read the blood pressure. If you have a blood pressure cuff, take your blood pressure, especially if you have high blood pressure, take your blood pressure, take the reading, and then practice SDR breathing, slow, deep, rhythmic breathing, and take your blood pressure again, and you'll be shocked by what happens after 5 minutes of SDR breathing. If you go to the doctor and he's going to take your blood pressure and you know it's going to be elevated, or you have what's called white coat hypertension, where you get scared by the doctor and raise your blood pressure. We all know that our blood pressure goes up when we get scared. This is, again, proof that hypertension is a sign of the sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system being in override or overdrive, before you have the doctor take your blood pressure, practice 5 minutes of SDR breathing. Practice your SDR breathing in the waiting room before you go in to get your blood pressure tested. This is great if you're going in for a life insurance exam, because if you have hypertension and you're trying to get life insurance, your premium is going to go up. So before you go into the doctor's, or before you go into the from the waiting room into the doctor's room, a doctor's office, practice SDR breathing. A quick way to practice SDR breathing, or to facilitate oxygenation or breathing, if you don't want to take the time to do it, is to take a warm bath. Again, a warm bath tells the body that everything is safe. In fact, women know this. Women are really in touch with their bodies much more than men, and women will intuitively take a warm bath when they're under stress. They know to do that. Why? Because when you're in a warm bath, the body gets the message that it's safe. Why does a warm bath tell the body that it's safe? Well, a warm bath duplicates the safest place a human being will ever be. What is the safest place a human being will ever be in his entire life? Anybody know? What is it?
In utero.
In utero. Exactly. A warm bath tells the body it's back in the womb, which is the safest place it's ever been and ever will be. It should be anyway. Unfortunately, it isn't always. And so a warm bath will immediately activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And back to your question about infertility, one of the best ways to get fertile or make a baby, if you want to make a baby, conceive a baby, is take a warm bath before you try to conceive. Or take a warm shower before you try to conceive. This is why hot tubs have such a reputation for being aphrodisiacs, right? Everybody always laughs when they talk about getting in a hot tub. They think about the sexual side of it. It's because a hot tub puts the body in the parasympathetic mode, and the parasympathetic mode is where sexual activity is initiated. Under conditions of sympathetic overdrive, sexual activity shuts down. Libido shuts down. Fertility shuts down. So before you try to conceive a baby, take a hot bath, take a hot shower, practice SDR breathing. Another great way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is to relax the muscles. Massage, Reiki. Before you want to make a baby, get a massage, get a back rub, a foot rub. Any kind of muscle relaxation will also activate the parasympathetic nervous system. By the way, the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation nervous system, redirects blood flow from the back of the brain to the front of the brain. So when you're parasympathetic, you're more creative. When you're sympathetic, the blood flow is redirected to the back of the brain, which is called your reptilian brain. The reptilian brain is what regulates fear and anger. And so when you're in sympathetic overdrive, you're more prone towards anger issues and anger outbursts. When you're in parasympathetic functioning, you're calmer. You're more relaxed. One of the fastest ways, non-physical ways, emotional ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is to be grateful, to be thankful. This also activates safety. This is why you want to say grace before you eat your meal, because the parasympathetic nervous system regulates the digestive system. Parasympathetic nervous system is known as the rest and digest nervous system. It regulates relaxation and digestion. Indigenous cultures knew this all the time. They would say grace before meals because when you say grace, you activate the digestive system. When you eat when you're under stress, you activate the sympathetic nervous system. You don't digest your food as well. When you're trying to have a bowel movement, the worst thing you can do is try to push. What you want to do is relax. Relax the body. Think of everything you think, relaxing thoughts. If you try to push, you activate the sympathetic nervous system. It's much harder to have a bowel movement because the sympathetic nervous system shuts down the bowels. This is one of the reasons why, at least in this country, maybe in your country as well, we have such a problem with chronic constipation. Chronic constipation is, again, the manifestation of an overactive sympathetic nervous system. Heart disease, poor immunity, accelerated aging, bone weakness, digestive problems, hypothyroidism, infertility, poor, slow healing. All of these are the end results of a body that is out of ease, that is sympathetic, that is in dis-ease. The single most important thing you could do for fertility or anything else that's beautiful about life, whether it's creativity or sexuality or strength or growing or repair or beautiful skin, the single most important thing you could do is to get the body back at ease from a physical perspective by SDR breathing, warm baths, massage. from an emotional perspective by thinking kind, loving thoughts, by being grateful, or by being spiritual. Connecting spiritually also activates the parasympathetic nervous system, because there's nothing more safe for the human body than to understand that we are connected to the whole picture from a spiritual perspective. So get your body back into the parasympathetic mode, no matter what your health challenge is, whether it's something like fertility, or whether it's high blood pressure, or whether it's fighting cancer, whatever your health challenge is, get your body back into a state of ease. How cool is it that the body loves to be in a state of ease, and that it does its best work when we're in a state of ease? That's the greatest gift that the divine force put into us, that we do our best healing work in a hot tub, or when we get a massage, or when we laugh, or when we're grateful. That's how the world's supposed to work. That's how our body is supposed to work. We've created a culture where we've got sympathetic triggers everywhere. You can't open up your mail without getting a sympathetic trigger. You can't turn on the TV without getting a sympathetic trigger. We've got sympathetic triggers everywhere we turn. Turn off the news. Don't pay attention to any negative noise. All of that is just a way of getting you sympathetic, and it will assure that your body doesn't have an ability to heal or be fertile or any of the other good stuff. Can I answer your question?
Yeah, we've noticed that when people get on to complete nutrition, we commonly hear people say, I feel more peaceful, and
Yes.
we actually see people more...
Now you see why.
Yeah.
Now you know why. It's because nutrients and raw materials and resources tell the body it's safe. Starvation tells the body it's emergency. In fact, there's a hormone that the body will make when it's under chronic duress, and it's called cortisol. You've probably heard of this hormone.
Yes.
Cortisol is the hormone of the sympathetic nervous system. And all of these problems that we talked about, infertility and high blood pressure and accelerated aging and bone thinning and skin thinning and poor immunity and digestive problems, they're all regulated by cortisol. Cortisol. So lowering your cortisol is extremely important. Under conditions of elevated cortisol, your body will attempt to protect you. And all of these things that we call disease are really the body's attempt to redirect energy into the emergency management system to get you to run. So the blood, by the way, the blood clots under conditions of stress too, because that's one of the ways that the body protects itself, is it will clot the blood. And blood clotting is a big problem. Blood clotting is a major problem in this country, and some of the most popular drugs or best-selling drugs are blood-thinning drugs, probably in your country as well. But to get back to your question about how the body responds to nutrition, under conditions of elevated cortisol, under conditions of sympathetic operation, when the body's in sympathetic overdrive, you won't be able to lose weight, because the body will be trying to protect you from starving. And the biggest reason why people who can't lose weight when they exercise a lot and they try to reduce their calories, but they still can't lose weight, is because they're operating in this sympathetic posture. Their body is sympathetic. So if you're trying to lose weight but you can't lose weight, anything you could do to put the body back in ease will help you lose weight, such as SDR breathing, massage, hot water, and, to your point, Michelle, nutritional supplementation. Nutritional supplementation, vitamin C, vitamin E, antioxidants, protein, essential fatty acids, all of these things we call the mighty 90 essential nutrients, when they come into the body gets the message that everything's okay. There's plenty of resources. It doesn't have to be protecting itself, and your cortisol will drop, and you'll find that you're losing weight. So not only does the Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients provide you with the nutrients for building and for raw materials, they also tell the body it's safe, so that you can get out of the, at least partially, there's other factors of course, but at least partially they tell the body it's safe, so you can get out of this sympathetic way of being and into the parasympathetic way of being.